Never.
But wiser
Well,
and better looking.
yeah, well, that's a debate. I think that I would lose. Everybody, welcome to Marketeers Clubhouse. Today's a little different of an episode. I started my life hitting the ground, and I continued to hit the ground as I went through cycling. In fact, I saw it online somewhere. Someone was debating and talking about my cycling career, and the best quote I ever saw is, "I had a checkers or wreckers style of racing," which obviously just means I hit the ground a million times. And past that, I spent so much time chasing the clock in long endurance efforts that I've kind of burned my body out. My hormonal system, everything's kind of a wreck. So I went on a search to find someone that could help me. And I've got an amazing team of doctors in Canada. But to get to the stuff that I wanted to see, how it would work, more real sort of cutting edge longevity, I had to go down to Scottsdale. So in February, I went and took a visit to go see Dr. Jeoff Drobot, who's my guest today. Jeff, welcome. And thank you for being here. I'm curious on 1,000 different levels because longevity as a business, not I'm going to end up talking, and we can use me as an example of a person who's striving for longevity and wreck their body. But as a business, it is insanely popular thanks to science catching up, thanks to guys like Joe Rogan who constantly talk about cutting edge modalities to help heal, whether it's stem cell, whether it's peptides, whether it's testosterone. These have become things like back in the day, I would assume people would be like kind of keeping it quiet if they're taking testosterone as a man, because it feels like a thing. But nowadays it's something like, who cares? Someone asks me and I'm like, yeah, I'm on testosterone. My testosterone system is literally shot. You are in such a perfect spot. You understand the playing field, and you explained backfilling biology that disappears so well to me, which I really want you to explain. But how do you attribute the rise in what you've decided to take on as a vocation is perfect, but what do you attribute the rise of this strive to do it and the tech that's sort of pushing it? Where do you see that coming from?
I mean, definitely exposure. So when I started this, like when it wasn't cool 20 years ago, or we're going to say 25 years ago, from exercise physiology, and then graduated to go to Europe, start incorporating technology, bringing it back to North America, implementing it. And back then it was still considered, I guess it'd be considered taboo. I mean, in the world of exercise physiology, we had performance enhancement, which was considered dirty. Just like you said, testosterone was considered dirty.
100%.
Everything was like, oh, well, this is what we're doing and you're not supposed to do it. And it's like, well, we need to get recovery. If we were an athlete getting paid millions of dollars, like, why would we sit here and fall down a bunch of times on a bunch of gravel and think we're going to get up and be better? Like, sooner or later, we're not going to be better. And then by the time, I graduated, so that was in exercise physiology, when I went to University of Calgary, I mean, you weren't learning. I mean, I don't want to be rude, but you weren't learning anything about performance. You were learning about measurement. So then that measurement would be textbooks. So medicine is great about just reinventing textbooks, right? That's all we do. We just do, I call it textbook medicine, right? All we're doing is we're just saying this is what we did in the 1960s and we haven't graduated since then. And then the magical COVID happened and everybody started to do a little bit of health research. And of course, in your business, that means chum is in the water, right? Like all we need. We just did, like, people weren't doing that before. Once chum hit the water, then everybody's starting to be at home doing their own intel. Then people start picking up on that. Smart marketers start to pick up on that. They start to increase the exposure with just conversation. And that's all it took. You know, people are obviously, mortality is a pretty easy thing for people to like concentrate on. They just never really adopted like, no news is good news from my physician. And then they realize like, uh-oh, like no news is not good news, right? No news is no news. And I should probably learn something about biology and physiology. And that's, you know, and I think the world, again, there was exposure to it, and now it's noisy, right? It's really noisy for people, which always happens, right? Somebody learns about something and the complexity of it maybe picks up in this initial rise. But now you're just seeing a lot of people adopt it, which is unfortunate for medicine, because now we have, like you did, you just gave that disclaimer. You just said, I have a wonderful group of doctors, which means
Yeah.
I'm crediting something that I have, but I'm looking for something more. And it's like, yeah, well, this person had a lot of great qualities. And you're like, okay, right when you say that, you're saying like, I need to add stuff, which everybody should be interested, I guess, in their own health. I don't know how it got termed the marketing term longevity. You know, it used to just be called like physiology, right?
Right.
Like I want to better my biology. And then we had to put a term on it. And so definitely, and it will not stop. Like we're going to go through another decade where now people are informed. There's so many people, and they're starting to learn about things. And then they realize, which I love medicine, but they're having a hard time justifying the one physical a year and like, let's just get older and hit the rocking chair, because people are wanting to do more. They want to perform better. Life's busier. We have more aspirations. We have no freedom 55 in Canada anymore, which is let's just hit retirement. Like, let's just be good. Like, and if we can be good, let's be better. And maybe let's get to our best. So definitely, I would see exposure exploded post COVID
Hmm.
with podcasting and just information.
Yeah, there's there's a million of them. Whether it's Lance Armstrong talking about it, which Lance has talked about a bunch. There's Huberman. There's Rogan. There's like on and on and on. I feel that this is also a perfect like COVID was perfectly timed with Gen Xers like me, you. I'm 55. All like Gen Xers live different. We were like we have driven the machine hard in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
instances. Most of us, um, we're the start of the helmet generation style sports where you get hurt more often than not and have to recover. And action sports was a huge part of our world, and team sports and traditional style sports accelerated in sports science to a ridiculous level. But don't forget, we still came out of the old Rocky hitting the
Mm-hmm.
meat in the freezer, and then the next Rocky, you've got Ivan Drago with all this sports science from Russia, and we're right in this change where when when I was on the national team, I had 30 trips to the University of Calgary to do VO2
Testing.
maxes, to do all
Testing.
sorts of testing
Right.
and measurements. But there was no tweaking to understand the training correctly. It was all like do crazy training, see if it affected it. The sports science hadn't evolved to that point, which truthfully, I believe, pardon my language, kind of fucked an entire generation of athletes in my world because it was all crazy high intensity. Where cycling, Pogacar um, trains zone two. He's the greatest cyclist on the planet, greatest cyclist probably ever existed. He trains zone two consistently. He obviously trains in high levels, but the he's training in a way that's way more sports science, way more effective to the human body. Um, and I feel that there's this entire generation of me's that either hit the ground way too much, and or in my instance as well, just drove themselves into an oblivion, just constantly, and has eroded my hormonal and my biological systems to an insane level. Like when I saw you, my stuff is way off the map.
Normal. And any high performer, like we would say, like people would say off the map, and I would say, well, that's normal, right? Like if you had a race car and you looked at its tires and they'd be like, oh, they're way bald, I'd be like, yeah, that's normal. That was a race car.
Yeah, which makes sense, but the strive to be, it's funny because normal can be used two ways here. Normal because I've worn the machine out, that's normal, but I want to get back to normal. I want to strive to get back to where my performance is, where I'm comfortable. And you put it very elegantly the other day. It's like, we need to put the biology back in for your body to start working. And I've eroded my entire ability to produce the biology, the different hormones that I need, DHAE, testosterone, all these different things. And then also try to repair the machine as I'm doing all this
On the fly.
on the fly, all the sports injuries. And it's literally the equivalent of having a mechanic sitting on the hood fixing the engine while the race is going on and the car's being driven around the track, which is a difficult thing for, I think, a doctor to be able to do. And, to go back to your point, I do have a great group of doctors in Canada, but Canada's limited, very limited in what it can do, what it can prescribe, and its progressiveness. And there's this imaginary line that separates us in Scottsdale. We're on the same patch of dirt. I can drive to you right now. Take me 24 hours, but I can get there. Reality is we've just got an imbalance between what's available between the two countries legally. And it's funny because you mentioned it at one point. You're like, I am, if I, and I've done a million WADA drug tests in my performance career. If I did one now, it'd glow red because my testosterone's through the roof. I am like pushing all sorts of other hormones into my body to levels that are not, we're trying to get everything balanced out. But I don't care about being illegal at this point in professional sports. If I wanted to go to the world, plus 55 championships in something, then I'd probably consider it. But just to be able to think better, to be able to live life at a higher level and longer and enjoy it while I do it. I don't care if I drop dead when I'm 82, as long as when I'm 81 and 300 days, that I'm still thinking clearly and I can still walk. That's my goal. And truthfully, I still want to be able to ride my bike. I got goals when I'm 80, stretched out that far, because without goals, I'm rudderless. But anyways, the growth of your business and doing this, you are like in the golden age of longevity. And from a marketing thing, perfect term. Whoever pegged that on there and said, this is the longevity thing, amazing, because everybody wants it. It's actually a beautiful term. Exercise physiology sounds like something for athletes. Longevity sounds like a great business plan for everybody.
Right. Yeah.
So what have you found? Like, I'm curious from a marketing standpoint, who's coming to see you? Like, are you across the board everywhere, or are you finding performers that want to continue to perform, or what's the?
I mean, when I started, so remember, I had a huge clinic in Calgary, Canada.
Yeah.
For like 13 years. I did great, right? But I did great. And again, this would have all been very innovative back then because I had a bunch of tech. The things you can't, there's substances, and we'll get into it, that maybe I couldn't prescribe, but I was tech heavy. I was helping Canadian Olympics, right, at one point. And so they didn't limit me in that sense, where the fanciness maybe with the ability to prescribe, that was an issue. And it wasn't an issue I wasn't going to use them on athletes anyways, right? I wasn't going to cheat because there's no point in it. But there was a growing list. I used to see tons, and I still do, of chronic degenerative disease. Well, how do we get there, right? How do we get to chronic degenerative disease? I mean, obviously something burnt out or something happened. And so that ended up being, I was an N of one, right? So people like, what were you going to do? Like you had to go to something at that point. Like I had more toys than anybody else in North America. And then when I decided to move to the States, it was simply because of Calgary snow and the fact like I got into it where I was like, this is so boring. Like there's another layer that nobody's doing, but I can't do it, right? I can't do it. So I have to move down to somewhere where I'm going to be able to do it because nobody in the States was doing it anyways. They're doing testosterone, but they weren't doing that plus the tech plus this, that, and the other. And then it just built a following. Starting, at a documentary on Gaia, that was all on autoimmune disease. And yet, if you asked a bunch of people, they'd be like, he's a fertility doctor because I helped a bunch of females get pregnant, or he's a Lyme doctor, or he's an athlete doctor. And at the end of the day, I was like, I don't do any of that. Like you show up with your biology and physiology, we're going to use tech and substances and we'll just put it at pretty good. And then when you put biology and physiology at pretty good and you have like enough knowledge and all the toys and tricks, then like magic will always happen. And they pack that in, go back to Boston, find 4 more people over a lunch that sucked and said, you just got to go see this guy. And so like I embarrassingly never did marketing, which always limits my exposure, by the way, because I never needed to. And when I came down to Scottsdale, because in Calgary, like Calgary's a small place, as you know, and because I had like this innovative health clinic, I'd go to the Saddle Dome to watch Calgary Flames game. And somebody would be like, Drobot, you're not allowed to eat those chicken wings. So I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to go down to Scottsdale and nobody knows me. And in the harm of doing that is I never built a local practice because I didn't need to. So I liked my anonymity walking around Scottsdale. Now, again, when this longevity thing peeled off, like I didn't need to go look for people. Like I already had people.
Yeah.
So it was like lots of national traffic, lots of Canadians coming down. And, unfortunately, I should piggyback off of that in as far as what you said. And you should be like, well, you should go and monopolize that. And in the end, there's so many patients out there. Like, and patients nowadays are just performers, right? There's so many people like yourself that are like, I don't want to become a patient. That's my point. I don't want to become a patient. And so I need to strive because, I'm going to be 80 and I want to remember my name. And our generation gets to see our parents, right? You remember seeing your grandparents and you'd be like, Pops ain't bad. Bro, he's still farming in Saskatchewan at 80. Like that guy doesn't need nothing. He hasn't seen a doctor in 50 years.
Yeah.
And now our parents are like, shit, I don't look so good because we changed the food, we changed the environment. Like we did everything that we made world complex without biology being able to adapt. And now people are like seeing their parents or their uncles and aunts, and they're learning the word cancer and learning the word Alzheimer. And they're like, gosh, like I remember when I used to go play the piano at the nursing home and all these 80-year-old gals are dancing around playing bridge. Like I don't remember elderly looking like that. Elderly now looks handicapped. And so once I see that, I'm like, that is not something I want to be. So they get on it 30 years before that. But before that, it was out of sight, out of mind. You just got on your rocking chair.
That's it.
You were good.
That's so interesting because I never even thought about it, but maybe because my particular grandfather, both of them died early-ish due to other reasons. But when you talk about it, you're not wrong. Like my grandfather's era was just workhorses. There was no retirement. They just worked, and their food was clean, and their water was clean, and their air was clean.
And they just did activity.
They did stuff constantly. Where I look at the baby boomer generation, they didn't grow up with McDonald's, but sure as shit, real close. And fast food came in hard and heavy. The ability to consume went way up with the consumer culture as far as like different foods and like access to like every type of food that exists on the planet you can find in Calgary or Scottsdale.
Correct.
And overconsumption became like a fairly common norm through the 70s and 80s. It's like hilariously memeable about those eras. And yeah, I guess they're completely different, where I look at that and I'm fairly concerned about what I put in my body, although I'll eat junk food and stuff occasionally, but like I work hard to keep moving, where that's not necessarily commonplace in baby boomers, which is just actually an interesting thing for your world, which I wouldn't have, I didn't even think of. And, but that's really interesting. And it's funny because maybe I've said it a million times. I look at, not necessarily my dad, but my friends' parents and stuff. And I'm like, when I remember them when I was 20, I'm like, they looked old and they weren't doing anything. And I'm their age now. And I look in photos and stuff and I'm like, I don't look the same. And to challenge any of those people to go and climb a bike up a mountain would kill them literally at 55. And now it's like, I'm performing not super far off of where I used to perform before, like discernibly slower, but like I can still do everything. It's shocking to me, which is really interesting, that that's a thing, and it's a generational thing, which is interesting.
They go through cycles. Now, if you really want to shock yourself, go tonight. Well, you can't because it's summer break, but go look at elementary school and you'll be like, none of these kids can run. Like, what happened to all these kids? Like, I got this group of beasts. There's a small group of kids. Mm-hmm. And then there's a large group of kids where you're like, man, like that kid has not done activity, right? That kid is like on a path of destruction, in the sense that you can, like, remember when we were running at recess, and I mean, there was good soccer players, but everybody could play soccer.
Everybody. Yeah.
Everybody could. Like, you could go swing on the swing. You could do some stuff. Go look at an elementary school. If you think like we're in a pocket, like 50, I'm 50. So when you're 50, you get to see this 35 to 50. But then I dare you to go look at an elementary school now, with the advent of gaming and with the advent of quick food. And then go look at those cats and be like, geez, like we always think like, I don't think I looked like that, right? Like my kids, like I have a 7-year-old. I'll go look at her school and I'll say, wow, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Right. Because that is going to be a problem, in the sense that, the generation didn't have quick food, and we certainly didn't have iPads. Right. And our generation was the first one that adopted technology. And that was a downfall. Right. Because we, like, people say food chains and everything, and it's like, no, your nervous system got so overstimulated because we are the early adopters, and we just irritated all the time. Like, we have no rules with technology. All we did was we took a nervous system that we used to watch the Dukes of Hazzard at 10 o'clock, and that was it. Right? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, sports at 11, and then you go to bed because you're like, man, everything's so boring, right? Like, what am I doing up? I might as well just go to bed. And then all of a sudden, like, now I can overconsume. And so it's not like food change. We actually make better choices, because like you couldn't eat salad in Calgary in December, right? You'd be like, okay, well, I wasn't around. Like, I can't ship this up from Mexico. But what we did do is our brains and nervous systems rested because we were so bored in the wintertime. And then you remember in university, right? You remember what happened. And then we started incorporating it into business, and everybody's all of a sudden working 7 days a week. Like, how did that happen? Nobody would have ever got that job when we were kids. They would have been like, hey, do you want to be on call 7 days a week and check this idiot box at like 2 a.m. to see if like you got something? And by the way, you can do your banking on here, and you can actually go research Hong Kong instead of going to Hong Kong. Like, you can just go and consume a bunch of information. And like, it's all overstimulation. We do so much brain work. We just burn out a nervous system. And once you do that, you could physically do it as an athlete, but everybody can do it now just with tech. Like, I dare you to go try to play ColecoVision, because you can go get a ColecoVision. Go try to do that for 10 hours. You'd be like, man, Donkey Kong is so boring.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do it. Like, you would not be physically able to do it. But at the same point, like, could you put your phone away and your computer away for 48 hours and see how agitated you get? Right? Like this, you'll see that, right? And that feeling will be way worse than eating McDonald's for 48 hours. Because you'll see, like, wow, like I need that stimulation to go in a day. And that ends up to be the net of the problem. Like, tech will solve a problem that tech created. And you're never going to get tech away from people, right?
No.
Like, it's overstimulation times 50. People are like, what does a blue zone do? They're like, nothing you do. They're not doing anything,
Yeah.
right? They're going to ride their bike. They'll go smoke and drink. They'll go laugh with their uncles and aunts. They'll eat some tomatoes off their farm. Like, they're not doing anything special. They're just not doing it in excess. And they're not irritating themselves because, like, they don't see the need to and they don't have the opportunity to. Nothing else. We could do that.
This is one of the things that I truly loved hearing from you when I came in and did my test, and you're right on the nose on this, is you ran me through a protocol, and it basically showed that my nervous system is just jacked at the roof the entire way. There was like tests where I was standing, lying down, doing different things. And my lying down, where I was supposed to be resting, where my nervous system should have been down, was actually like higher than everything else. And then it like, you were like, no wonder you're having these problems. You're firing 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
And this leads me to like such an interesting thing about your practice. And just so everyone knows, if they want to go look it up, you can find it under Biomed Scottsdale or Jeoff Drobot. So go and take a peek. But you identified something that none of my other doctors have ever looked at or said, and it's how upregulated my nervous system is constantly. And since I was in to see you, I've been like doing minor changes. I quit all screens at about 10 o'clock, a little bit earlier if I can, which was a difficult thing to do. I play guitar before I go to bed, and if I'm going to read, it's paper books, never screen. And we've heard these things, but trying to just pull the nervous system back into a sort of normal state. And truthfully, it was a little painful to start because I wasn't getting any dopamine hits before bed, which we're all chasing. Like, you pick up your phone. Hey folks, pick up your phone, start scrolling. You're just giving yourself little tiny micro
The reward.
Yeah, of this reward.
It's rewarding yourself for a hard day.
Yeah, and it's triggering dopamine, which we should all learn how to not do if we can do it, because it makes life flat. If you're always triggering dopamine, everything's flat, where you don't get these massive spikes of it, which we used to get, right? You'd be bored, and to your point, nothing would be happening, and then something exciting would happen. Boom, your dopamine would go way up, and you'd feel more alive. And that's a really interesting thing.
The only except like hockey night in Canada would be Saturday at 6, and we'd be like, can't wait.
Exactly.
Cannot wait until Saturday. This is going to be the best game. And you're like, okay, but Thursday, like, that's what you were waiting for. Like, you had things you were waiting for. Other than that, you should went and shoveled your driveway. Like, that was the only excitement you were getting. You're like, I guess I'm going to shovel my driveway so that I can get my car out in the morning. And then, people just, I don't think in medicine, we don't respect that burn rate, that biological burn rate. Yeah. Now I always did it because athletes, like, if that's the only place you have a chance to make a move, because again, hormonally, you don't have the ability to do that. You can't, you're limited to that. But the nervous system, you could do tons of work. When we did like PMF, hyperbarics, even the ability to test it with full brain EEGs to look at brains and then autonomic nervous systems, like, you get to see, like, people are like, oh, this is like, how do you know? And it's like, you just look at it. None of it looks good. But if you want to be a high performer, like, you're going to, in the end, whether you do it physically, mentally, or emotionally, you're going to overdo it because we have the capacity to overdo it. And we're going to make ourselves probably sick. And then you need to put that biology back, because there's no way that I am going to stop. Right? Like if I went in and you're like, okay, this is do your meditation for an hour a day, and then like go ahead and do some deep breathing for another hour a day and take 75 pills. And I'm like, fuck that. Like, what are we doing? Like, that just sounds like more things for me to do. And
Right.
if I have to do all of that to be okay, not even good, but people are like, yeah, this is my ritual. And I'm like, yeah, high performers don't do that, right? High performers find some way to disturb that so they get a better result in a shorter period of time so they don't have to stop. Like, why do you stop when you're 50? You just barely got good at it. Like, and then again, you know what my CEOs do? A lot of CEOs, not mine, they retire and 6 months later they die because you got rid of that stimulation and they die. And you're like, man, that's just a broken lion. And so like we don't do any interventional stuff. Like I want people to go until they're 85 and somebody would be like, that lifestyle is unhealthy. And I'm like, okay, the lifestyle that you're talking about was shutting the machine down. Like I don't see that either. And I think that's the narrative now, which is always when something gets identified, somebody else is going to come in and say like, here's all the lovely lifestyle stuff you need to do. But I don't know that I see successful people with a bunch of time. Like they're not geared, they're greyhounds, right? You're going to go ahead and you're going to say, stop running and let's go through this spiritual awakening. And I do the opposite. I'm like, look, that's what it looks like. Let's go catch up to it because I want you to 2X that.
Right.
I want you to be able to do it. I don't want you to be sick. But when you guys come into me, you're like, I'm struggling. Like my drive is here. My discipline is here. I just can't get there. And it's like, go get there. Right.
Yeah.
And then it's up to you how you want to spend it. But if somebody gave you a big extra paycheck every 2 weeks, they're not like, sit on this till you're 90. I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope that you would be like, yeah, oh, now I'm back. I want to go ahead and do the things I couldn't do before. And I'm all about like, I want you to do that. I want you to go and drive it as hard as you can because this is a generation that there's a lot more opportunity. Why would you be sick so you can't do it? I wouldn't do it blindly because you're going to get dementia, right? Like I wouldn't go ahead and try to do it, but I do it intelligently and say, I need to invest this in this machine, right? It's like if you had one car for the rest of your life, you would not be an idiot and think like changing your tires every 2 years is going to give you like, that's medicine. Medicine is let's see how it does. And if again, you had one car for the rest of your life, you know that thing's, if you never changed the oil or did anything, like you don't have to be a physician to understand that's not a good thing. Unfortunately, in medicine, we just kind of do this bullshit blood work. And I don't like, I'm a physician. I have lots of physicians as patients. So like, that's a hard job now because you guys are armed with computers. They say, I'm going to give you a high blood pressure pill. And you're like, screw that. You're going to give me kidney failure. And we never used to do that to our doctors, never used to fight them. No. So now like they got 5 minutes from the insurance company. You guys are fighting them for that whole 5 minutes. They're going to say, I'm going to give you this. And you're like, hell you are. And then you're both like, I don't got time, Bubba, to go through your life for an hour with you. Like, I don't have anything other than this script pad. I'm not sure what you want from me. And that just, medicine and the public, like after COVID, I don't know that we'll ever mend that relationship because at least in our generation, like it's a constant challenge now. Physicians don't have tools. Rather, we don't have any tools for that.
Don't you feel like, so I'm fortunate enough that I go to a private health clinic. So thank God when I go see my doctor, I can literally book an hour if I want it. I can book 2 hours if I want it. And they'll sit with me and they'll go over everything. And I see Dr. Ralph Struther, and I love Ralph. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Limited by what they can do in Canada, which is what it is. And I also see Inga Gerber there, and Inga's amazing. She's great. She's who was the first one to identify my testosterone was down. She's like, we need to actually fill you back up with this stuff. But again, limited in certain things that we can do in Canada. I have a doctor for everything. And, like I've had, B grade skin cancer, they cut it out. And of course I spent my entire life in the sun.
Yeah. You earned it. You earned everything you got.
Yeah.
right? Orthopedically, dermatology, like you earned it. You earned it.
And so I'm fortunate to have that. And I feel even more fortunate to be interested and I guess the word would be affluent enough to be able to find you and be like, okay, now I'm going to go down this other path where I found not less restrictions, but truthfully, from a Canadian standpoint, less restrictions, but more importantly, like a different perspective on what the breakdown is, and not look at the current issue at hand, but look back 10 years and go, what did you do to break this down? And let's look
Yeah.
at your nervous system and let's look at X, Y, and Z and see if there's any other contributing factors to why your hormones, all of them, are like basically at zero, and let's backfill those, and then start repairing the machine and doing all these other things to do it, which is truthfully, Jeff, such an interesting way to look at medicine, the way you're doing it, because honestly, like you're going to solve 50 unknown problems that are in my future waiting to come up by adjusting and getting my hormones back to correct. You're going to solve another 50 by helping me get my nervous system in check, easily, that
Yeah.
much. And I've said this to a million people a million times. It doesn't take much more than 10% to change an entire trajectory of your life. These are, you don't have to make an insane
No.
move.
Radical.
Like sometimes radical stuff's amazing, but over the whole scope of your life, it's these small adjustments and basic things that do it. And your perspective on like, and your analogies of how and why they're so clear and they make so much sense to me as I am heavily, as I would assume most of your clients are, heavily invested in trying to understand why my body is the way my body is. No one's coming to see you and being like, Jeff, I've got a cough. Like
Yeah, not paying me for that.
No, you're not that doctor. And I have doctors for that.
Correct.
And that's a separate, like dealing with those very specific day-to-day things. Those are different things. But when your medical file is War and Peace, which mine is, it's literally thousands and thousands of pages of everything that I've done. I don't have such a clean back record. There's
Correct.
no drug abuse. There's none of those things. It's all high performance stupidity.
Yeah.
But all those things need to get fixed. And
All those things need to fix themselves.
yeah, thank you. That's even a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Regulator is the control tower for precision trade marketing. It's built to fix the most critical gap in a brand's sales funnel, the handoff from digital attraction to physical retail. Today, every sale starts online, in search, in social, in reviews, but without flawless in-store execution, the connection between online influence and real-world in-store purchase fails, and the sale slips away. Regulator replaces the chaos of spreadsheets and scattered workflows with a single platform that gives your teams real-time visibility and control, so the brand shows up exactly as intended on every shelf, every time. The last 3 yards get covered. The sale sticks. The smile happens. Welcome to the future of precision trade marketing.
So I want to, you brought something up which I have actually tackled, and I'm going to assume anybody who's even remotely like Brad, who is our producer on this episode, I know this will resonate with him. The noise that exists out of social media, like there is a million brands selling a million different things.
Yeah.
Everything from cold tubs through to beta adenine, to control lactic. And that's a wide spectrum of performance enhancing everythings.
Correct.
What's the, like, short of coming and seeing you to cut through the clutter, which is truthfully exactly why I did it. I had an idea what I wanted to do, which you then enlightened me on actually why I needed to do it, why my biology was so broken and all these things. But to cut through like this absolute insane marketing clutter, because it is, I have to assume if it's not the hottest marketing space right now on the
Oh,
it's real close. Has
yeah.
to be.
I don't know that anything. I don't know that more conversations on a day-to-day basis would happen about people's health or somebody they like. We never used to talk about that. That used to be like behind. That used to be family business, right?
Right.
Only family business. And now, yeah, everybody's got something or did some blood work or taken some supplements. And you cannot search for something and get targeted 50 more thousand times, because I mean those we're talking multi-billion-dollar industries, right?
Right.
Health and wellness, multi-billion-dollar industries. So how do you cut through that? You know, it's like you always like you have to, unfortunately, and I've heard it all, right? And again, 20 years of doing things before they were cool, right? If you don't really get an assessment, and I don't really care how you do it, I mean, I am shocked to this day that I'm still the only cat that's dumb enough to invest in all this tech. Like you got biohacking, red beds and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm like, where's your restaurant? Like, where's your shop? Like, where are you doing this? Like, do you have any reps doing this?
Yeah.
Because you can take 5,000 things. I mean, it's all a biochemistry experiment at that time. I mean, when I look around, like when I went to Europe a bunch of times, like those guys are dead, right? The guys that taught me, but they're brilliant. And then nothing, as far as what the public ended up doing, I'm surprised professionally that it hasn't caught, besides some people slinging some bioidentical hormones, you know, or they're doing some peptides or like, but no one actually has a center that they're doing assessment and real, like, are you intervening? Because we have therapeutic plasma exchange, exosome, stem cell, peptide, like all the stuff that you can prescribe is just one thing because that's saleable, right? Like you can go to pharmacy, I can prescribe that all day. But the actual stuff of having the equipment or the tech to do the assessment, nobody wants to invest in that. And like that is like that's what you're supposed to start with, which sounds like it was always cliche, but it's like you can go and medicine's a practice.
Right.
You can go and practice medicine on yourself, right? You can take 5,000 things and you'll take some oral like NAD and try to convince me that it improves your NAD. And I'm like, guys, like you've been had. You know, if you come and do assessments and if you actually like if there were more places around that just did an assessment and sorted out like what organ system maybe you need to intervene at, like this would be so much easier for the public because the public wants that. They're not stupid. It's going to take a businessman, not a doctor. It's going to take business people to take that noise and say, wow, there's a big group of people that's too smart to have time to go listen to that noise. We should just give them the solution, right? And then there's another group of people that are like, this is a good hobby of mine. I'm just going to take everything, or I'm going to research everything. But there's people that are like, I don't do my own taxes for the simple fact, like I've got a corporate accountant that will save me money doing my taxes, right? I'm not doing terrible tax. It's crazy. So unfortunately, the industry is full of potential solutions.
Right.
But it's not filled with strategy.
No, and it's not. And I feel that, well, it's so.
Look at you. Like you're like, okay, I was into this. Right. I took my health from community medicine up to concierge medicine. And then I wanted to go to performance. But you think like in Calgary, there's enough people there that I should be able to like do this performance thing, right? At least go ahead and get this assessment longevity stuff. And then I should be able to get a strategy aside with my medicine, because it's all health. Like we're not saying medicine, we're just saying like biology and health. I should just be able to go and do that. And
Yeah,
it doesn't exist.
that's actually an interesting way to look at this, because medicine is what my doctors do when I'm dealing with a cold.
Correct.
It's antibiotics. It's these different things. Orthopedic is when, you know, I need to actually get some structure worked on. But health as a general thing is a way broader category. And where I get concerned is I'm curious and I'm a risk taker, and I would get fed insane volumes of data, whether it's through podcast, whether it's through Instagram, wherever it was coming through. And I would be like, oh my God, and then down the rabbit hole. I'd see another, oh my God, down the rabbit hole. And it's like, okay, catch my breath. Number one thing, movement, right? Number one thing, move your body. Number two thing, how are you powering that body? Power it with as clean a food as you can get. Try to be consistent. And actually, I'm going to go back. Sleep, probably.
Sleep. Yeah, you got sleep, food, and movement.
Yeah. But most people would rather worry about sleep, potentially think about movement, but go to Ozempic or GLP and not backfill the third missing pillar of whatever it was, food, not eat clean or not eat correct or whatever these things may be. And I just get concerned because we're not talking like, I feel I'm a clever person, and I was down in such an insane rabbit hole that it drove me to you. Literally. That's where the rabbit hole led. I was like down 15 different rabbit holes, and I finally saw light, and I poked my head up, and there was your clinic. And I'm like, oh, okay. So there's someone who can actually test for all these things, give me guidance on what I actually need to do. Okay. Because I'm going to go fucking crazy if I keep driving down more and more of these rabbit holes. And there's certain stuff, me and Brad, we caught on to beta adenine a few years ago to control lactic acid during performance. Oh my God, I wish I knew that when I was a training scientist.
20 years ago, right? That was research 20 years ago. It was always funny.
Literally just I rabbit holed, and it was a Lance Armstrong something or other, a throwaway comment from Lance, and he's like, beta adenine. And I'm like, what? And I look into it, I try it, and I'm like, whoa, that's a super, super effective thing to take if you're trying to control lactic acid during training and stuff. Don't know how legal it is in performance. I got to assume it's probably not super legal, but maybe.
Not super illegal.
Does WADA test for beta adenine? I doubt it. And just for anybody who knows, when you're forming lactic acid, the beta adenine, you ingest it and it goes throughout your entire body, and it hunts basically the acid, and it bonds to it and neutralizes it, is what it's in simple man's terms doing. And the craziest thing is, and it's happened to me and Brad, we would take a couple beta adenine, get out on our ride. One of us would have a bike issue, a flat or something really early in the ride, and we're standing there and we're itchy because the beta adenine circulating through your body, and it creates this itch, which is insane. So it very much it works, but if you're not producing acid, it makes you very uncomfortable. But there's all these amazing things out there. So Jeff, what would your so not me, because I don't want to say seen the light, but I definitely went and found someone who could get me to the next, educate me and tell me actually what I'm doing, which is, I think, the end goal. Short of people going and seeing you, which I believe they should, what is I'm an Instagram athlete, I'm interested, I've bought myself a cold plunge, and I'm going to build a sauna, and I'm looking at all these other crazy things. What's the no fly? You mentioned NAD, oral NAD is from my research, it's arguably a thing that maybe doesn't work great.
Expensive.
It's expensive. You've got me on different peptide therapies, which I find, and I had a doctor's appointment with you not long ago where I'm like, I went off it just to see what happened. And here was my results. And it was noticeable, very noticeable.
Early to go off of it. Right?
Yeah.
Early to go.
And so what would your, for a common person who can't necessarily come to Scottsdale or, wrangle an online appointment with you, or however they need to do. Can people from Canada do online appointments with you?
I do Zoom globally.
Okay. So, and trust me, the economics of it were not prohibitive. So anybody who's thinking this is an insanely expensive thing, it actually is not. And it was a delight. I came and saw you guys for one full day and went through all the testing. I will absolutely come back within the next within a year to make sure that we double check all that stuff. I tend to go to Southern US a little more often. So for me, I was not in the neighborhood, but I was only a couple hours away. So I went, it was perfect. So I'm going to do that again. But for someone else, they should do an appointment with you, go over, and I highly recommend not like tinkering with certain things is fine. But if you've got a cocktail of even 20 different things that you're trying to do, different supplements, different things, you will never, ever understand what's interacting, what's happening, what's going on. It's too complex.
You won't get it right.
So where's your like normal human draw line? Are you like, do your basic multivitamins, and if you
do multivitamin, probably do something digestively, put some minerals in there. And even then it's like, I used to give that information like 10 years ago. And then when we look and like, I get to see regular people, really sick people, really high-end athletes, and people that want to live to 150. Right. So I see mammals. Right. See a lot of different mammals. But I'm going to tell you, just with assessment, that none of them look great. I'll show you my NFL guys. They look terrible. We just can't intervene until they retire. Right. We've had 2 concussions. We do full brain EEGs. Like, none of that looks good. They have no testosterone. So, I mean, you wouldn't even be able to tell, like, looking at a person, which is scary, what their physiology, like, what their timeline ends up doing. Nobody does, biological age scores. Nobody does telomere length. Nobody DNA methylation tests. So if you're trying to figure it out, like, the most advanced thing you could do is now maybe do by yourself, right? Self-elect, maybe a micronutrient test to see what vitamins you actually need. Probably could do a biological age test, will scare the shit out of you to see like how old are my cells versus how many birthdays have I had. And you're going to see. You're going to be like, well, that doesn't match up. And if you ever like did, again, nervous system testing, like there's no one that's coming back great. And so then you're left with like, it's always funny when I hear people like, oh, this is risky. And I'm like, it's risky. Seeing if that's going to end up good, right? Like I could look, you don't have to show me your bank account, and I'll look at what you're spending a month, and I'll tell you if that's risky. And then I'll presume, unless you had endless supplies of money, because people are like, I have great genetics, and I just start laughing, right? Like stop saying that, because your grandpa never did any of the things that you're doing, right? So stop saying that. Right. That's just a stupid thing to say now. Like, I got great genetics. And I'm like, oh, well, let's see what this looks like. Full body MRIs, full brain EEGs. Like, I want to see what your genetics do, because you're not doing anything that you were genetically designed to do. Right. Like, screw that. That doesn't forget it in medicine. Forget it in health. Like, stop using that as an excuse. The same thing is used oppositely. I'm destined for this because my mother had it. I'm like, what did your grandma's have? What did your grandma's have? I didn't see any of those. I didn't go to school with anybody with autism. You didn't either, right? I didn't go to school with anybody in high school that had breast cancer. You didn't either, right? I didn't have anybody that was 50 that had dementia. You didn't either. So like, stop with this genetic talk. Like, these are all new diseases, right? Autoimmune diseases, relatively new diseases. 1 in 2 people gets cancer. 1 in 8 males gets dementia. Like, that was not a conversation. So when people say like, I'm going to do it on my own, like, you should probably once in your lifetime go and see how your physiology runs, because it's not going to change, right? Unless you decide to add more to it, or you get in an accident, or you get an infection, or something really disturbs it. But bodies kind of will do it as long as like what you're capable of doing. Like, but you got to see where the holes in the bucket are. If you're not willing to do that, stop taking 50 things.
Right.
Because now I'm at the point where I can't tell, because back Now everybody's on 50 things, and I still see shit. So like you're gonna have a hard time. Like I look at the noise on social media, and I just start laughing. I'm like, that is brilliant, right? Like that is brilliant. Like you want to do a Wolverine stack of peptides? That is brilliant. Like you want to go ahead and measure your sleep? That is brilliant. You want to wear an Oura ring? And I'm like, why don't you take that Oura ring and skip it across the parking lot? Because all I hear is like my readiness score today wasn't good. And I'm like, man, that dictates your whole day. You want to put your Whoop band on and say like I suck today. And you want to put that into your own brain and say like, oh, I'm measuring everything. Your nervous system doesn't even want that agitation at night. Like how we even got into that when I was doing stuff with Russians, the last thing we do is put a bunch of things on our body at night when they're trying to recover and constantly irritate their nervous system, right? Checking on how their nervous system was. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to do it once. You're not supposed to constantly measure it and disrupt yourself all the time. It's like a little alarm that goes off and it says sample, 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 right? We're in this information stage, which is dangerous because people are getting their own health information, which I think is great. But like, you're supposed to like, that's like, again, looking at your taxes every day. Like, what are you doing? Like we know in the stock market, stop doing that. Like you got to let this marinate for a little bit. Like you're supposed to do stimulation, plant the seeds, let them grow. Like we can't train an athlete every day with no rest days. We can't do that. Like we know that people are like, well, they did it in Europe. I went to Europe. You know what they did? They did that as a job. You know who supported them? The government really well. You know who took care of the family and communist? Their government. You know what I saw that nobody else got to see? Those athletes weren't athletes and students. That didn't exist. There weren't athletes and like barbers. That didn't exist. No, they were athletes. And you know what they did when they weren't athletes? They rested and they got treated like kings. And they then got to use like tack. And so we're trying to do this, plus right? You're writing, plus doing podcasts, plus running a business. And I'm like, okay, if you just add the math up, you're not going to catch that, right? Like you're not going to do that unless somebody gives you a large sum of money and says, this is all you're doing. You better concentrate on this because if you don't, your family's not taken care of either. Yeah. Right. And we're going to do a punch biopsy of your leg and we're going to tell you if you even qualify for our program. So like there was the health information that we're gathering now, which I do like, right? Apple Watches, Whoop bands, Oura rings. It's probably not good for humans because humans like are built on not having bad news, right? We're built on like we don't need pieces of cheese to chase. We're supposed to say like, I just need to get food and fire. And I think I'm good for the day, right? And now we're like, every second we're analyzing, which is, again, terrible for a nervous system.
Yeah, I feel, well, I've had all of those things. I've got an Apple Watch on right now, but I sleep with nothing. I found it actually, I slept terrible.
Peaceful.
Yeah.
Right.
Like all of it, like the Whoop band drove me crazy. Like, and then I would look at the.
And by the way, I love them all for a sample size.
Totally.
I don't like them as a way to measure like how'd you sleep? And they look at their watch and like, how'd you sleep? Not how'd your watch sleep. Yeah. I know how your watch slept, right? I know what happened there. How do you feel good? Do you feel like you slept? No? Then don't tell me your readiness score is 99 because it like doesn't have the opportunity sample all the time. And then we have to add stuff back into physiology, like peptides, hormones, exosomes, stem cells. Like why? Again, in medicine, to your point, it's like, how are we not doing that when we want to do this until we're 85? Like you just told me, you want to do this till you're 80. And then your goal is to not be on any medication. I'm like, oh, how are you going to do anything? Like I'm telling you, like if you don't take advantage, and expense is always a hard thing because you know what's really expensive? Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah, no doubt.
That sucks.
Yeah.
You know what really you know what sucks? Chronic fatigue. Like that really sucks. You know what really sucks? Dying of a heart attack after you finish making all your money. And like the old adage is like, you give up all your health to get your wealth and all your wealth to get back your health. And that was like the stupid cycle of not investing in something is crazy because it's all available. And
Yeah.
as to your point, you're like, expensive? Like medicine's really expensive. You know, it's the frustration of being sick is really expensive. And it's not, we always say prevention, but it's not like prevention. You know, it's just education. Like learn how your system runs and run it, right? That's it.
Yeah, I'm well, to your point, and I think this is sort of how you are. I'm a spender, not a saver. I spend my body, I spend my money, I spend everything. It's not in my DNA to sit back and save to do it. I spend all of it. I try to be smart about how I'm spending my health, if I'm in a bike race, spending my energy in that specific time. But I'm
Correct.
going to spend it all. And
Yeah.
there'll be nothing left. In fact, there'll be probably a giant deficit at the end that's going to take me a little
Hope
bit
so.
out of. I hope so.
Hope so.
And so the I look at people and I'll see one of the guys I ride with or one of the girls, and they'll be like, "Oh, I've got this knee problem or this or that," and I'm like, "Go get an MRI." And they're like, "Oh, I am in line, and it's 8 months," and I'm like, you can go and buy an MRI tomorrow, and it's $400. Go, like, yeah, it's so much money. I go, what is more money? Wasting an entire summer of your actually active, let's say 30 summers left, or $400.
Yeah. And then wrecking your hip
You're
for
on a
$400, right?
you're on a $20,000 bike. Maybe go spend the $400 and get it and know tomorrow what you need to do. Like, because that knowledge is worth everything. And that's, whether it's that test or whatever test, that test is the definitive thing. And when I poke my head up out of the endless biohacking rabbit holes I was down, and I saw you, and I'm like, I applied that exact same logic. It's like, well, I'll drive the 3 hours from Palm Springs to go see Jeff. I'll stay in the hotel that night. It's fine. I'm going to spend all day. I'm going to spend the nominal amount, which truthfully in the end was a very nominal amount to pay to get all of the results and then direction on what I need to actually put back in and quit the the amount of money I saved actually just going to an expert in time alone and fucking around on Instagram trying to figure out the next thing. I've saved that money 10x over since February.
Yeah.
Because I know
and worry.
100%,
right?
which truthfully, the worry part for me, because my nervous system is through the roof all the time, that's an actual real cost.
Yes.
Like, that's a real cost. And so for anybody out there who's keen on this stuff, do it right. Do it once. It doesn't cost you much. You will save that money over and over and over. And I love the modern logic of, medicine is for very specific, like I have very specific doctors for very specific things.
Correct.
And you in my quiver of doctors is a very specific thing, but affects everything else. Well, the same with my skin cancer, doc, and like, I let that get out of control on my ear. Well, I'll die. Like, so, like these specific things need to be done.
Specialists are specialists. If your machine is broken, you're going to gather a lot of specialists.
Yeah.
Right. And like the goal is, and a specialist will tell you that, right? They'll be like, I'm going to fix your ear, but I don't know why your immune system wasn't checking that the whole time. Correct. Why wasn't your immune system checking that? And then the problem is, and you're supposed to go see an immunologist that wouldn't have anything to do to help your immune system do it. Like, we stop there.
Yeah.
But like, I love orthopedic medicine now. I love the surgeries we can do. I absolutely do. And I love neonatal care. I think we can take a 2-pound baby now and we can go ahead and do that. I think that's the advancements in medicine. So anybody that poo-poos medicine, like, has not seen surgery now compared to what it used to be. I just don't think we did anything for physiology to say, we should probably put this whole thing where at least it needs to be, so that we don't gather a bunch of specialists. And the specialists will even tell you, like, I'm going to deal with your small intestine. I don't know why the hell your immune system did that. And I don't know why you're breaking that down.
Yeah.
And that ends up being, unfortunately, right now, a personal journey for everybody to have a reason. Now, like we said, last 5 years, interest maybe overtook reason, right? Where somebody had a diagnosis and then they did the research. That used to be what I used to do. And now people don't need a reason. They don't want it. And now you got a bigger group of people with an interest trying not to get a reason. And still there's that disconnect in medicine that's like, I'm not going to treat you till you have something. And I don't have anything to test to tell you how you're not going to get something. And that is expensive and problematic right now.
It is. And it's, you just articulated, this is actually a perfect place to end this, because that's exactly the point. The trying to be healthy in general does include good food, does include going to the gym, it does include sleep, it includes all of these things, but it also includes getting the testing of the stuff that people don't understand. And trust me, everybody, I have had a million tests in a million areas, and until I came and saw you, we didn't actually scrape down to the real reasons of where and why I'm having these issues. You can go to a doctor for sleep and they're going to prescribe you something, try to knock you out. They may want to talk to you about a little bit of lifestyle and stuff, but they're not going to go deep enough and start looking at your neurological issues or these different things.
Yeah.
Same with weird little biomechanical stuff that's not healing, which I've got all sorts of different spots in my body, which I'm healing way better today with the therapies that you're helping me with truthfully with peptides and making sure my hormones are correct. Than I've healed in years. Like I haven't been able to play tennis with one hand, like, and actually use my proper thing, because I had this insane injury on both elbows, unfortunately. But over the last 6 months, I'm hitting a tennis ball like a normal human again, and at full power. That isn't
not supposed to be able to do that.
I'm actually not supposed to be able to.
So that would have been wrap it up for the rest of your life. Like, that's what I think people don't understand is, like, this is, and you didn't even use stem cells, exosome. You didn't even use anything fancy, right? It was like, look, I'm going to maybe give you 10%, but I'm going to globally, like you said, they don't go deep enough. And really in medicine, we don't go surface enough. We don't look at global systems like nervous systems and lymphatic systems. We focus on like specialty, right? Like that's what we're doing. But we don't look at like what's actually running on top of the little things that are running. And can that person be put in a therapy window that, again, we're not treating anything in you, we're treating everything in you. And even though that sounds cliche, like what if you were able to just regenerate 2% more than you used to, and you accumulate that? And then it's the same story from every single human mammal. Is like, man, I can do more things than I could before. I can think better than I used to before. It's not because we intervened and like did a bunch of stuff. It's because we put some biology back in there. Peptides are messengers. Gave your body some messages. And then to your point, you're like, I don't think I want to go back to what I was doing 6 months ago, right? With not being able to do stuff. And the real problem is it's not being able to do it. It's like you just didn't have enough money to pay all those bills. So the next thing that goes is your knees, right? And the next thing that goes is your central nervous system. Then your brain starts degenerating. And it's like, yeah, physically it starts. And then we just call that getting older. But it's like, well, what if you were regenerating a little bit faster than you were breaking down, or at least just starting to regenerate? Like globally, a lot of good things happen. And again, now when people say like what, like, can I do it on my own? I'm like, why don't you just, like, next time you're in Scottsdale, why don't you just walk through my clinic, right? And then see, like, there's 70 machines in this place, none of which tie to each other, right? Coming from all parts of the world. And like, I doing this, I don't know, tens of thousands of times. There's no way that I could do it without any of that stuff, because it's like intervention and assessment using technology. Now with medicine, we're like knee to knee going over some blood. Like, listen, once you see what is out there, like, you cannot try to figure it out. But with your story, that is the norm. Right? Like, look, I wish I could do it better. And now you're like, look, I don't not a bunch of time and money. It's not certainly I have to do a 4-hour practice every day to be able to do that. Like, I didn't really have to subtract anything from my life. I just added a little bit of these things and I'm able to do more things. Now, again, if we looked at your brain and said, you know what's happening to your brain? Same thing that's happening to your elbow. Mm-hmm. You just don't see it yet, but you will, because you won't see the offside of that, which is terrible. Yeah. And it's like that, to me, I hope, and it may never get to that point, because in order to see something, Instagram can't do that. Right. Facebook, like, you can't see the tech that's being made. And with medicine, like, we can't go and get a good example, because you don't, in your brain, like you just, like you said, like Ivan Drago, that's what it looks like. Right. In the end, it's like, you don't have the opportunity to see it, so you couldn't understand how complex it is. But once you get the complexity done, you wouldn't understand how simple it is. So like, we're going around this thing where medicine's not going to adopt it, right? It's just too much money, no insurance reimbursement, and like too much education for a doctor to go and try to learn all these things, which is unfortunate. Doctor will learn hormones, but you can even learn peptides. In fact, I have some people that, man, they're not physicians, but I'll call them up because they are citizen scientists, but they're good. Right, they are damn good, and they like are the ones that did the research, and there are those people that exist. But like, I don't know that you're going to be able to, like, I know personally you can't do it by yourself, because you wouldn't even know where to start. Like, to go ahead and get a bunch of assessments done with technology, you can't do that with humans.
I for sure knew, even with the insane tier of doctors that I have, there was no way for me to get to the answer of what I needed. And it kept scratching at it. Like,
it's stressful.
Oh yeah, it's a nightmare.
Regulator is the control tower for precision trade marketing. It's built to fix the most critical gap in a brand's sales funnel, the handoff from digital attraction to physical retail. Today, every sale starts online, in search, in social, in reviews, but without flawless in-store execution, the connection between online influence and real-world in-store purchase fails, and the sale slips away. Regulator replaces the chaos of spreadsheets and scattered workflows with a single platform that gives your teams real-time visibility and control, so the brand shows up exactly as intended on every shelf, every time. The last 3 yards get covered. The sale sticks. The smile happens. Welcome to the future of precision trade marketing.
So I a couple things. Thank you, not just for this conversation, but for doing this and doing it at an insane level. Everybody, like anyone who's even remotely interested in this, is like, I'm going to go to see the guys for stem cells here in Mexico or here. Guys, you can go to Scottsdale, get it all done in North America. It's not that hard.
Funny.
Easy flight, beautiful place, great food, nice people, hot as hell. It's great. Go climb Camelback. It's unbelievable. Super balmy right now. You can go there and do it. And when I realized that there was like actually like there's good security, was I tentative to fly to them? Like I called the guys at CTI in Mexico that were all over we're all over the Joe Rogan stuff, because when my elbows were bad, I'm like, I think I want to do steps. I want to do this. I want to do that.
I want to do it.
And I was like, okay, that's interesting. But there was like a lack of confidence in, one, it's in Mexico, which right off the bat, I'm like, okay. And I know there's lots of great doctors, lots of very progressive.
Lots of very smart people.
Yeah, it's very good. However, there's that like, there is a thing there. mentally where I had to get over, and I was like, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 1,000% confident in what I'm doing. And that led me down endless paths of different modalities and trying to do this, but it's all literally available where you are. And you're like, it, at least you people will have a decent idea of understanding what's going on. You can get them to that point, which you got me to that point where it's like, okay, now I know and I'm locked in. And yeah, I got to make a visit once or twice a year. Next time I come, we'll do my brain because I feel that that's the next step. Body first so that I can move, brain second, because if my body moves, my brain always feels better. But I do feel that there's stuff that I want to like identify and address early. There's nothing wrong with my brain today, but let's look at it and see what my lack of hormones have done to that structure.
Probably it's like playing racquetball and saying your knees don't hurt, but you've played racquetball for 20 years. I'll tell you what it is. It's not scary yet. And on the like going down, and again, I get a lot of people, right? Going down, doing one therapy like stem cells, and it's like, what? You're going to put $40,000 into that system that doesn't have the basic hormone to make the $40,000 work? Like, I don't get it, right? Like people say, why do you do everything? Like why you have all these, like, what do you, again, it comes back down to what do you really do? I like to do everything just for the simple fact of like, I spent 40,000, put that stuff in my body, and then you get pissed because it didn't work, right? Then you go back and invest another 40,000. And I'm like, well, you planted these seeds, people come here, you do plasma exchange, oil change, put 5 liters of fresh plasma in there, then put some stem cells, you'll see some magic. But I wouldn't put like a bunch of great stuff in dirty oil. So they're just, again, the process is all wrong. Like we're getting there just because we have exposure. But like now, again, I never heard about stem cells 5 years ago from a patient, right? Now it's like, I want to go do stem cells. I said, I love stem cells, right? I have for 20 years. Like you went down to Colum, Panama. I did all these peptides and stuff 20 years ago when it was deemed whatever it was deemed.
Yeah.
But like you have to set the table to get like a return, number one, on your investment.
Right.
And biologically, like you don't want to do that, right? You're risking now. There's not a big medical risk. It's just like your expectation is not set. It's like never training and doing one of your bike races.
Yeah.
I bet you can do it. Point your tire downhill and then duct tape your hands onto that and just don't cross them up.
Yeah.
Right. And then go for as long as you can until you fall down. Like you can do it. But your idea of what you're getting out of that, and again, you hear lots of inspirational stories.
Lots of marketing around it. Yeah.
I love it. I think it's like I told you, we'll sit there from time to time and I'll look at it and I'll be like, man, that was great. I thought like there's a bunch of great stories there, but then tell me the other ones, right? Tell me the other ones that like you didn't have this set up. There's nobody that like had, like you're not degenerative to the point that just adding 3 million or 10 million stem cells, like, will they do something? Yeah. Like, could you make that 50,000 times better if you just do the other little things before you do that or get a clean? Yeah. So I think like we're there. You wouldn't have gone wrong.
Well, it's one of the reasons I didn't is because I didn't think I was at a stage of health, truthfully, where I was like, this will act like I feel like I'm a healthy person, but I knew that something was off. I knew that there was more things off than just my elbows. Like too many things in my body were blowing up at the exact same time. And I'm like, okay. I remember one of my doctors that I don't see anymore years ago. I'm like, I'm interested in testosterone. They're like, you're going to blow up every ligament in your body if you do that. Literally, quote unquote. Then I didn't go back to it for like 2 years. I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. Yeah, you just scared me. And I'm like, that's actually the worst advice that any doctor has ever given me. And I'm like, okay, like I get it. Cautionary tales, guys getting too much, blowing themselves up in the gym, whatever. Like I get that.
That's, again, the hard thing is like in medicine, that's synthetic steroids. That's not testosterone.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
we're in medicine, we do not have this language right. We say a birth control pill is hormones. No, a birth control pill looks like hormones, which is why it's dangerous. Like putting biological things, and people are like, "Oh, I'm going to do 5 times the level." Like, there's no bodybuilder that takes bioidentical testosterone. You will not lift trucks over your head. You will not get to, like, we have this idea again that Ivan Drago in medicine, we're like, you're going to blow your ligaments. Like, you're not, what you think that means is not testosterone.
Correct.
Like, that's Gold's Gym, and they will laugh. If you show them your testosterone prescription, they'll be like, I would eat that for breakfast, and it would do nothing for me. So that, again, is the narrative. We just have to, in Canada too, man, like that's a funny one, because you're like, people are like, that is so dangerous. I'm like, it's so dangerous not to have it cardiovascularly.
What drives me nuts, Jeff, is that the rogue sports science, true rogue sports science from 30 years ago is affecting policy of today, which is fucking crazy. That's crazy.
Poor Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson ruined Canada.
Literally.
Because you can't even an Amazon get DHEA across the border, and here you can go to CVS and buy it for $10,
which is insane.
Very, very weird. And that was all Ben Johnson. He did a great, and people are like, that was disgraceful. And it's like, that was an N01, man, right? Like, we're okay.
It's the policy being set by fear from sport, and from cautionary tale, right? Like, okay, you take testosterone, you're going to end up with testicular cancer or X, Y, and Z. And it's like, no, guys, this is like HGH. Is HGH the worst thing in the world? Well, bodybuilders take it. Seems pretty crazy. However, they're taking like insane volumes of it, and most likely it's a different substance altogether.
Whatever people think, like, again, you've just watched too many movies to believe like that is what it's going to do. And again, that, I guess, is the confusion, that people think like, I will go the opposite and say, you will say, I will get prostate cancer from taking testosterone, and I will say, you'll get prostate cancer from not taking testosterone.
I would actually agree with you. Like, one of my very good friends is my urologist, and he's like, I'm like, this is what's, and I talked to him about all the different stuff that I'm going through, and he's like, it's fine, just go, like you're fine, just keep going.
Like, if you're a strong and healthy animal, however you're going to do it, and you have to do it with biology, like, but if you're just a strong and healthy animal, you can be that animal at 75. You just might need to add something to it. But if you did all your lab work, and you looked at all these inflammatory factors and they were low, you looked at all these anabolic factors and they weren't at 10x, but they were in the upper 70th percentile. Like, you're gonna be. I'd bet on that. I bet on that horse.
I bet on that as well. One of the big things that I've noticed that the BPC 157 is one of the peptides that I take. Like, when I stopped taking it, my inflammation responses went through the roof again. And I've always had a hyperactive inflammation response. And that alone, just an overall reduction in inflammation, thank you, in my body, was a shocking difference. Correct. Everything moved better. I thought better. Everything literally was better.
Right. And you have to realize that a peptide, unlike a hormone, you're not suppressing anything. You're not adding anything. You're simply giving a better message to your own biology to do what it used to do before. But inflammation or age or X or strain or stress or crap sleep, doesn't allow it to do it. And people are like, well, why would you put those peptides in your body? You're suppressing your own. And it's like, again, no, you're not. Like, all you're doing is messaging. Now, testosterone, you're replacing. That's replacement. Peptides. And again, like, you should do a little bit of everything. If you want to in life, do a lot of everything. Because in the end, you'll do nothing, right? Like, you want to really, like, when you're researching stage 4 and you have it, like, you're 20, cardiovascular disease, 40-year problem, dementia, 40-year problem, cancer, 40-year problem. Like, all these things, like, you can track them for 40 years before you get them. 30 years. We have all the tech to do it. We just don't do it in medicine. And then that would be the world, like the world of intervention, like 30 years before that, you can see like you are going to flame out and you are going to have a problem. Like, we don't have full body MRIs in Canada, except maybe in Vancouver. And people are like, I'm scared to do it. Like, you're scared not to do it. Like, it's like all these things are not something that sneaks up on you. Like, they're all, you can look at it. Like, your nervous system, what do you think would have happened in the next 25 years?
If I didn't realize and understand what was going on, I'd just be blown out. There'd be nothing. Like, I would go, my brain would be jello.
You could still get on your bike, pop 5 Advils, right? Reminisce about the good old days and be like, I'm going to ride today because like, that's what I do. Yeah. And you can skate that out, but then, and crippled is a bad word, but like when you're permanently injured and not moving in another 5 to 10 years because you didn't have hormone to pay those bills, and you just like the last of anything, right? The last, we'll just say 30% of people in business. Right. You know how much money you spend? Like, people spend 80% of their healthcare dollars in the last 10 years of their life, right? That's maybe in the last 5 years of your life, right? Because that's what we do. We're like, once there's a problem, you spend a bunch of money and like you just go at it. And again, like, you are a perfect example of not disease, right? We didn't have disease. We had inefficiencies and like doing a little bit, like globally, and it's bioaccumulative, right? Like, it just like, hey, works. And my body, when I put it in a therapy window, like people say, well, the therapy didn't work. And I'm like, no, you didn't respond to the therapy. Therapy is good, right? The person's giving you this and you're like, nothing happened. And I'm like, you didn't put yourself in a position to make it happen. And that's, unfortunately, medicine is like, well, if that one doesn't work, I'll give you 2 medicines. Right. And then I'll give you 3 medicines. And you're like, still not working. So, I mean, you're on the right track, right? Everybody is like, it's noisy right now. Once you get rid of that noise and you learn, like, this is just what I'm going to do. And then I'm like, get out of the way, sit back, put your body in a big therapy window, and like, just do it for 6 months. If you guys want to pull the training wheels off in 6 months, you should, right? There's therapy windows, and then get away from therapies and let your body recover. I mean, but if your interest is like just pure out, just feeling better, right? Because that's all I hear about. I don't feel good, right? This is like, and maybe that's hyper awareness with marketing, but it's true.
Yeah.
I don't think 50-year-olds like now want to do more than 50-year-olds 25 years ago. And then you want to do that at 75. And you're going to see, like, you're able to do it. You're just going to invest a small amount so that you can do stuff at 60. And you're going to be like, wow, that's pretty damn good. And I'm going to say, you know what the side effect is? The rest of your body aged really well. That was the side effect. You wanted the one effect, to ride your bike. I'm going to tell you the side effects, unlike a prescription where we get one effect, but they're all effects. You just call the bad ones side effects.
Right.
The side effects of doing biological medicine is that, like, a lot of your other organs are put in the same position to do regenerative. You just care about your elbows. Good enough. But at 80, you'll care about your brain. You won't care about your elbows much. You'll care about your brain. You know, and so that'll be a nice reward for you.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I didn't think I had any ever digestive issues until I started taking BCP, and everything. I was like, oh wow, everything works so good. Everything.
Just
And
better.
it's better.
Just
It's
works
better.
normally, because people
Yeah,
are like, didn't work. And I mean, you just mean it didn't work normally, right?
correct.
And they're like, you know what? I can't eat gluten anymore. I can't eat dairy anymore. And it's like, nah, you ate it. You were eating it 10 years. Like, you're having Taco Bell once you got done at Cowboys. I saw it.
Yeah.
But you just can't do it now because your tissues can't do the same work they used to. Sure, we changed food, right?
Yeah.
But it ends up being like, listen, you just expended more resources, so you can't do that,
Yeah.
right? So now it's like your world is in a little bubble because this is what you have to do to feel normal, but that's not normal.
No, I refuse to live in a reductionist lifestyle. I refuse. I'm not going to build my life based on, well, that hurt, not going to do that anymore. Well, that
Right.
hurt, not going to do that anymore. I refuse to do that.
Right. But
And
you also should not do it recklessly, because
no,
I see blind pride, like, you're
no,
not going to tell me I can't do 12 shots of tequila. I'm like, well, I'm
well,
going to show
okay,
you.
bad things, no. Like,
All good things.
yeah,
Things are just things.
I refuse this. Like to the point, I built a tennis court. Had to have an elbow surgery, and the other one needed surgery too. Couldn't play tennis, so I switched to left. And I was like, I've just built this thing. I'm not gonna not
Yeah.
use it. And
Nobody's telling me what I can and can't do.
yeah, and then a couple of years, like the surgeon I saw, who was great. He's great.
Yes.
He did a great job actually. But not until I actually got on BCP did I actually notice that I changed physiologically how I'm like. It repaired at a level that was different over
Correct.
the past few months.
Yes.
And
Discomfort to comfortable.
to super comfortable in
Right.
all aspects.
Correct.
And that that was an easy, like I didn't even do it for that. That's not
Right.
what this was. This was a whole body thing. I wasn't specifically targeting something. In fact, I didn't think that was even possible. I thought structurally that I had what I had after the surgery and it was going to be what it was going to be, pain level forever. And I could manage it. And I was like, I'll just switch to left and I'll play 2 backhands or whatever. I don't care.
Right.
But I'm like, I'm out there and I'm hitting and I'm like, oh, I'm hitting single handed. This doesn't hurt at all. And I'm like, well, I'm hitting hard single handed. Doesn't hurt at all. I'm like, okay, I need to be cautious and make sure I don't
smart
structure. However, marked improvement, beyond marked improvement. And I'm like, okay, this isn't an accident because the surgery had healed as far as it could.
Surgery put the mechanics
Correct.
where it could execute, but the soft tissue wasn't learning, right? Like you weren't regenerating. Like we do the surgery and then the surgeon will tell you like, looks good. Now it's up to your body to decide whether it's going to move well. And you know, I guess I'm not shocked by anything anymore because again, if you took 100 people, I don't care what they have, and you optimize the 100 people, they're gonna be better.
A huge,
People always use the word cure, and I'm like I'm not sure what that means anymore because when you do system-based medicine, you get system-based results, right? Which means like I'm not going after one thing. I'm going after a bigger thing than that one thing. And then you get to have like a lot of great little things happen, but it is not that complicated. It's noisy. But when you have everything and you have the assessment on where to start, it's actually pretty straightforward and simple. And the best, again, if you go talk to veterinarians, they'll be like, man, I don't know what you guys are talking about, right? Because if you feed that dog Taco Bell, like your dog's sick and you take your dog to a veterinarian, we always listen to them.
Right.
And they're like, look, it just comes like veterinarians do biology so well because like their patients don't talk. Right. So they just look at that and they're like, look, and my patients that own racehorses, they understand, right? Like you put a lot of money into this thing. Like you can make these horses go long, like, but you have to do the recovery part of it. And then somehow we get to human beings. And like it just shits a bed, right?
Yeah,
and like you said, you're just trying to do a lot more things, not blindly. But then like these light bulbs go off in all our heads, like, that was wrong. That was wrong. That was wrong. And all it ends up being is like, remember when you were 17 and you didn't pay, you had no amounts of your memory focused on your health.
Right.
Zero. I wouldn't spend any part of my day worrying about how fragile I am. And like, that's called a good existence in a blue zone, right? Like, I don't have anything besides like being able to worry about, like, I'm not focused on that. Like, I'm not supposed to know that. Like, a dog doesn't focus on that, right? The dog focuses on like just getting better. And then you just put like anything in a position. So I think, like, when you don't have that playing on your mind,
Right.
and you have confidence again, caution, confidence.
Right.
But then you get to see like, wow, I really spent a lot of time trying to figure out how I was going to move without pain, or how I was going to like get some energy to do this, or I want to go run a triathlon, but in my mind, I know I'm going to damage myself, and am I going to be able to do anything 5 years after I do that get that t-shirt? And when you simply just don't have to spend any brain power on that, like, life gets to be like easier, right? Make life easier. I think it's a good thing to invest in.
Agreed. 100%. In fact, I'm heavily and happily invested in it. Jeff, thank you for
Absolutely
all your knowledge. Thank you for teaching us a bunch of amazing things. There's absolute gems in here. I'd love to come back and chat with you at another point. You're so increasingly in the exact right spot with your business, and I'd love to just keep following you and see where you go. And there's so much new stuff. I only hope that the fad component of this burns off quick, and the real work that gets done becomes an actual serious thing. Turning from fad into not that your specific stuff is fad, but all the noise that exists around it will boil down, and the knowledge will seep into a deeper part of the culture that just makes everyone healthier.
Yeah,
And I love
less stressful. Right?
Yes.
Like, when people are searching for answers, we got a problem right there. They would not be searching if we didn't have problems. If you tried to do this when you and I were 20, it would gain no traction, right? Because people didn't have any reason to go ahead and do this. Now we know that it's problematic and a fad for the simple fact that we got a problem, right? The problem is that we're overextended physiologically. And so we're looking for a solution. Very few people do it out of interest. Like, your little spider sense says, shit, not good. So my goal with you is to have knowledge so that people understand, like, you just have a problem, right? And when you have confidence, and you see with biology and tech and physiology, it all exists, right? It's all very easy. Unfortunately, it's complicated on a professional side, but on personal side, it's very easy to just submit to the fact that you want to be better and you don't feel good. Right? Just say that. Like, I don't feel good. We don't need to go see 15 specialists to know that you don't feel good. You just said you don't feel good. Just because in medicine we can't give you an answer because we just didn't have the test, right? That's frustrating. So we have nothing else from this entire thing. It's like, go get clarity. Because the worst thing is that human beings are designed to find a solution. The problem is we weren't designed to have too many ways of getting all this information. We were designed to say, there's smoke over that hill. I'm going to go find that fire.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot spend 24 hours a day in your central nervous system looking at stuff and confusing yourself. That physiologically is very troublesome because there's no solution. You didn't get the carrot. You didn't ever get the carrot.